So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Division of Academics, Family and Community Cluster Trainings. We are so glad that you decided to join us this evening as we prepare to share specific initiatives about our work in the Division of Academics. Next slide, please. So our meeting norms for this evening: be polite and respectful to others, ask questions in the chat, and we have team members online who are prepared to answer those questions for you. Stay focused on the topics at hand, and be patient and assume everyone is doing their very best. Next slide. So our agenda for this evening, we will do a welcome and some introductions of our team. We will talk about our APS MAP and BASC-3 BEST data. We will talk about our telehealth services and give you some information about physical and mental health. We will also focus on APS personalized learning, as well as our math vision for teaching and learning, and then provide time for questions and answers at the end of our session. So a little bit about our division, the Division of Academics. We have a Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Yolanda Brown. You see her at the top. We also have a Program Manager, Mr. Tom Munn, who is on with us tonight, as well as an Administrative Manager and an Admin Assistant. We also have 3 different departments that make up the Division of Academics. They are Teaching and Learning, Student Services, and Instructional Technology. And we'll share more about those on the next slide. So for the Teaching and Learning department, you see 6 different departments there. So within Teaching and Learning, you have Curriculum and Instruction, ESOL, DOA, and World Languages, or multilingual programs and supports. You also see Early Learning, which is pre-K, CTAE and signature programs, SEL, or Social Emotional Learning, and JROTC. In the Student Services Department, we have Health Services, Student Supports and Interventions, Special Education, and Summer and After-School Programs. And then finally, in Instructional Technology, we have Media Services, Instructional Development and Design, formerly known as Professional Learning, Instructional Technology, and Virtual Programs, which is our AVA program. So our strategic plan for our district serves as the anchor for our work, and it provides all the goals for our district around literacy, math, college and career readiness, and what happens for students with our profile of a graduate. So it serves as our anchor, our guide, and it really lays a foundation for our work throughout the course of this year, and also the work you'll hear about tonight as we go through our different sections of the meeting. On this side, you see our APS 5, and the APS 5 are our 5 evidence-based practices that we expect all schools to use throughout APS. So you see data. We use data to guide all of our work and all of our instructional decisions in our schools and in our central office. Also, curriculum and instruction. So we expect all of our schools to implement rigorous and culturally relevant and responsive curriculum. Whole child intervention. We implement a whole child system of supports that integrates social emotional learning, behavior, wellness, and comprehensive academic intervention plans. For personalized learning, our schools use flexible learning tools, technology integration, and targeted instruction to personalize learning for all of our students. And then finally, signature programming. We will strengthen the implementation of our signature programs across all of our schools in APS. So those are our APS 5. At this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Will Melton, who will go through some of our MAP data for you from this past spring and fall.
Thank you, Dr. Florence. So my name is Will Melton. I'm for the Research and Evaluation Department, and I'm going to review a little bit of data with you over the next few slides. So first tonight, we'll talk about in the past school year, 2021-2022, APS began administering the NWEA MAP assessment to help us monitor our progress towards improving student literacy and numeracy proficiency. The MAP reading and math assessments allow us to estimate how well elementary and middle school students will perform on the Georgia milestones, English language arts, and math assessments. What we found with the MAP test is that they accurately classify students into the correct proficiency category 82 to 84% of the time for ELA, and about 84 to 87% of the time for math. And so if you look at the different graphics that we have here, The two different green colors are basically the proficient and distinguished. So approximately 31% of students in grades 3 to 8 performed at a proficiency level of proficient or distinguished on the spring 2022 milestones ELA assessment, compared to 34% of students on the spring MAP reading assessment. So it was a pretty close predictor there. Similarly, 26% of students in grades 3 through 8 performed at a proficient level of a proficiency level of proficient or distinguished on the spring 2022 Georgia Milestones Math assessment, and that's compared to 25% of students on the spring MAP math assessment. So that was a little bit closer for us. So let's go to the next slide and look at some of the cluster data here. So what you're seeing here is the district data as well as the three clusters that we're talking through tonight. So an additional perk of the MAP assessment is that it allows the district to use the fall MAP reading results to estimate spring ELA milestones performance for students in grades 2 through 8. While the best estimate of spring ELA milestone performance is the spring MAP assessment, the fall MAP estimate allows us to gauge whether we are headed in the right direction. So fall 2022-2023 MAP results, which we just got these a few months ago, they indicate that the district and clusters are reducing the percentage of students performing at the beginning level, which is indicated in red above, compared to fall of last year. Additionally, the percentage of students performing at the proficient and distinguished levels have also increased from last fall to this fall. And so that's for reading. And let's go to the next slide. And so now with math, similarly, we can use the fall MAP mathematics estimates of the Georgia Milestones achievement levels to gauge whether we're headed in the right direction. So for the fall MAP results, indicate that at the district and cluster level, we are again reducing the percentage of students performing at the beginning level in mathematics compared to fall of last school year. Additionally, the percentage of students performing at the proficient and distinguished levels in mathematics have also increased from last fall to this fall. And so as far as the MAP and milestones data, that's all that we have to present for tonight. So now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Herby.
Thank you very much. Next slide. All right, so the district's first universal screener for behavioral and mental health, the BAS3 BEST, was adopted during school year 22. As you may recall, the BAS3 BEST offers a reliable, quick, and systematic way to determine behavioral and emotional strength and areas of growth in children and adolescents in preschool through high school. The BAS3 BEST also allows for quick and efficient assessment of the behavioral and emotional risk and overall mental health status of children ages 3 through 18. The screener is administered twice per school year, once in the fall and once in the spring. So our fall administration window just closed October the 7th. The spring administration window will open in February and close in March. Screening was completed during the student's homeroom period, advisement period, or during the period designated at the school level. Parents, you will receive a score report following each administration window, and for the fall, you can expect to receive those reports by October the 28th. The World Languages Department worked collaboratively with Student Support and Intervention to ensure that the needs of English learners and their families were addressed throughout the screening process. And the World Languages Department will work with schools to ensure that all families understand their child screener report. Here you see in front of you the BAS3 BEST response protocol, which is the tool that guides the response of student support after the screener has been administered. From the moment the screener is administered to school staff confirming risk and assessing the need for support and for parental involvement, This guide helps to ensure that students receive the level of support that is needed. Next slide. The data provided by the BAS3 BEST empower school staff to build stronger programming to meet the needs of students. At Tier 1, which is school-wide, schools may focus on building community, increasing programming to bolster behavioral support, and be proactive in taking steps to create a welcoming culture of inclusion. Other supports that are available at schools range from referrals with school-based staff, such as counselors and social workers, small groups, skill building, or a referral to receive support from a licensed professional. Next slide. Let me take a moment to say thank you to all of the parents, guardians, and family members and the support that you provide to students. Your role in this effort of providing for the needs of the whole child is key. Maintaining an open line of communication with school staff, working as a team with school staff to determine the support interventions, engaging in conversations with your student about their day-to-day, and continuing to follow up with your child's school to provide updates and insight on how strategies and interventions are working are absolutely key. That brings us to our updates for the BAS3 BEST for the fall. And now I'll pause to see if you have any questions. Okay, all right, so no questions. We will move into the next part of our presentation, which is telehealth services. All right, so next slide. All right, so I'm excited to speak with you all about telehealth and our new venture, with Hazel Health, which will help the district to expand telehealth services and increase access to acute physical care and short-term mental health care for our students. School-based telehealth programs are a comprehensive approach to increasing children's and families' access to health care. It's a valuable tool that we're excited to be able to bring to the district, and it will also target gaps in care that results from the COVID-19 pandemic and other chronic conditions and mental health conditions. Next slide. Here you have in front of you some data. And so I want to take a moment to unpack the next two slides. And so currently APS partners with 7 mental health providers, and those mental health providers are assigned to schools throughout the district to ensure that students have access to care when needed. But what we saw during school year 22 is that even those providers ran into some challenges that prevented students from being able to get the level of support that they needed. Some of those challenges uncovered were lack of funding, insurance challenges, guardian non-compliance, and provider shortages. And those created some barriers to students being able to receive the amount of mental health support that they needed. What we also saw during school year 22 is that 37% of our students, or almost 20,000 students, were chronically absent. In addition to that, 25% of APS students in grades 3 through 12, we saw as being elevated or extremely elevated for risk of developing an emotional or behavior disorder. And what the research tells us is that students missing school due to a health reason, whether it be physical health or mental health reason, are one of the top reasons why students have chronic absenteeism. Next slide. So currently, what we have in place is that we have telehealth locations at 2 of our elementary schools, that being Fickett and Finch. We also have an existing partnership with the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta that helps to provide for the acute physical care needs of students. What we know is that, at least on paper, 1,293 APS students have at least one chronic condition, and we suspect that there are even more than that. Last year, 25,300 APS students were sent home by an RN or an LPN at their school. And so for school year 23, we look to be able to expand telehealth services far beyond the 2 schools that currently offer it. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means for this expansion. Next slide. All right, so please allow me to share with you a little bit more about the expansion of telehealth. Hazel is a telehealth service that is specifically designed for K-12 schools, and it provides high-quality services and support both at home and at school to address the mental health and physical health needs of students. Students will have access to high-quality doctor visits and therapy sessions. The physical health services are provided by Hazel doctors, nurse practitioners, and physician associates, wherein the mental health services are provided by locally licensed, culturally competent therapists who specialize in the needs of children and adolescents. The hours that these services will be available are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is Monday through Friday. And again, that is both at home and at school that will be available. Here you see in the where that we're rolling out telehealth in 2 phases. So the phase 1 clusters that will begin to have telehealth at school is Thurl, Douglas, the North Atlanta clusters, South Atlanta cluster, and the Jackson cluster. And the phase 1 service at school begins on October the 31st. Our phase 2 clusters that will begin on November the 28th include the Midtown, Carver, Mays, Washington, and non-traditional sites. And again, the reason why we're doing this is to increase student access to the services and support that they need to be well. And then, of course, to also remove those barriers so that students get exactly what they need so that they can be successful. Next slide. So it's important to note that before any service is started, your child's school must have a signed parental consent form on hand. And so I want to pause here on this slide to give you an opportunity to see where to go so that you can sign up your student right here, right now, today by completing that parental consent form. You would go to my.hazel.co/Atlanta Public Schools /, and then you would click on the sign up now. It's just that simple. That is what stands in between your student being able to receive services as of right now at home. Okay. Next slide. All right. And so I mentioned Hazel at home. And so even though for our phase 1 schools, they will not begin the Hazel at School service until next Monday, the 31st, we have actually launched Hazel at home for all of our schools beginning yesterday. And so again, that is the only thing, that parental consent form, which will stand in between your student being able to have access to these services. When you go in and you sign up for that consent form, and you must create an account, and then from there, you'll be able to be guided as to how to access an appointment, either for physical care or for mental health care. All right. Now pause there to see if there are any questions. All right, and I do want to mention that with Hazel, that is at no cost to families. That's very important to note, that there is no cost. All right, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jermaine Sumler-Faison, and I represent the Office of Instructional Technology, more specifically, the Department of Instructional and Development and Design. It is so great to be in the presence of our families this evening. Next slide. So we are so excited about personalized learning and the approach that Atlanta Public Schools has taken within the district. It is an instructional approach. And what we love about this approach to personalized learning is that it does empower our students to build ownership of their learning. It's very student-centered, and it really calls on us as educators to be completely responsive to the needs of our students based upon their data, but also based upon their interests, their needs. And so we are so excited and happy about how this is playing out in our schools throughout the district. Next slide. And so we were very intentional as a school district to adopt a framework that aligned with the priorities of Atlanta Public Schools. And so we operate within the core four that focuses on reflection and goal setting, targeted instruction, collaboration and creativity, flexible path and pace. And so what we love about this approach, personalized learning, is that the student is at the center and the priority is student ownership. We realize that each of these four components could take place in isolation, but it is most impactful on our students when it happens within a nurturing learning environment. Next slide. And so more specifically, when we think about each of the core four, we concentrate on reflection and goal setting. And so we believe that goal setting is really practices that really create a bridge for our students so that they can understand what they're learning and why they are learning it. We believe that when students are engaged in setting goals and really reflecting on their learning and what they learn and how they learn, that they are more in tune and more able to make decisions about their performance and how they learn best and what happens in class. Targeted instruction is definitely the core of our business. And so again, we are focused on providing our students, all of our students, with rigorous instruction based upon standards in the state of Georgia. But what we focus on here within the core four is our students' ability to identify not only what they learn, but why they are learning it. And we want to, within this space, provide our students with an opportunity to make choices, have an opportunity to create those choices for themselves. Flexible path and pace is also very important. And so when we think about flexible path and pace, we're thinking about the resources, the technology, and all of those things that we place before our students to ensure that they have opportunities to learn based upon grade level standards. What is unique about flexible path and pace is that we work with our students so that they too, not just their teachers, but so that our students can also play a very active role in making decisions about how they learn, what tools they use to learn, and all of those things. And then finally, collaboration and creativity. That too is essentially important when we think about the APS approach to personalized learning. Of course, we want our students to create those skills that will allow them to collaborate with their peers, to problem solve, to identify problems within their school community or their communities at large, and to come up with innovative ways where they can solve those problems. And so that is very important when we think about personalized learning in our approach. And so this is such an important aspect of the work, of our work in Atlanta Public Schools, that we have committed to making sure that all of our schools in APS over time, over a 3-year period, commit to adopting the core four, as I've described them, and adopting this way of working to ensure that we are creating learning environments that allow students that are personalized based upon their needs. And so next slide. You'll see that we started our personalized learning journey last year, 21-22, where 14 courageous leaders joined us in our personalized learning, and they joined us, they partnered, their teachers grabbed a hold of this work, and they have been moving and shaking over the course of the past year. And so because of their success, because of their communication with their colleagues and all the great things that they've been doing in their schools, we have doubled that number for wave 2 of our schools. And so the next slide will reflect the schools that we're currently working with within Atlanta Public Schools, just to demonstrate how the enthusiasm around this approach to work and how we want to meet our students where they are so that they experience not just one size fits all, but a one size fits one in our schools. And so next year, we will add on the remaining schools in Atlanta Public Schools who will join us on our personalized learning journey. And so next, you will have an opportunity to connect with Jen Hall, who will speak with you more specifically about instructional technology and how instructional technology is used within the school district to really lift collaboration and creativity within the Core 4. Jen?
All right, thanks, Jermaine. I'm super excited to be here and share on behalf of the Instructional Technology Department. I'm a digital learning specialist, and we are so excited about this work, the Core 4. And we're leaning into supporting all of the Core 4, but specifically providing tools and training and resources to support collaboration and creativity, because those are skills that we want our students to have as they are moving into college and career readiness. So personalizing the learning for them is providing them tools to create projects. And so leveraging the use of technology is super important for that. And also the ability to collaborate. And we talk about the fact that our students need to learn how to work in teams, whether it's in pairs or small groups, to be prepared for the work in the real world. So we lean into tools that can support that work. So the ed tech specialists that work and support students at the school level are pushing in and working on those projects. Just a slight little advertisement here. They're working on projects that could possibly be entered in the district competition for technology innovation. So why does collaboration and creativity matter? We want our students to be independent thinkers because creativity is a skill that can be honed and fostered, and we want them to work with one another to share ideas because that's how they grow in their strengths. We also want our students to be creators and producers. We don't want them just to consume content. We know nowadays students love watching videos, whether it's on Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram, but better yet, be the creators of that content. Leverage the tools that they have access to show what they've learned and what they know. We also want them to be able to provide one another feedback because that's an important piece of the Core 4 and that student reflection and ownership is to be able to provide feedback when they're reading others' writings or they're watching projects that their colleagues have created. Providing one another feedback is a very important skill. And also we want them to be sharing with an authentic global audience, the idea that they're creating, like I mentioned, our technology fair, their competition that we have in the district is an opportunity to showcase their learning at the district level. And those students that win at the district level move on to the state level. So it's an opportunity for them to have an authentic global audience. A lot of the resources that we share in the Office of Instructional Technology are easily found in my backpack, which is the one-stop shop for students. It's single sign-on, which means as long as they log in on their district-provided device or a device that you might have at the house, they can actually log in and access all of these resources. So a number of the tools that we highlight for collaboration and creativity would be Google Drawings. Any of the Google apps and Microsoft apps make it easy for students to collaborate on writing tasks and creativity tasks. Using Zoom, Teams, those are other great resources for them to collaborate. Maybe they're participating in asynchronous learning. For reflection, we have tools like Flip, formerly Flipgrid, Adobe Express, and Canva are creativity tools that we have access to at the district. Every student can log in and use those tools and find them in my backpack and become, again, those creators of content, not just consumers. We also have some very powerful instructional tools, including Discovery Education, which has resources for K through 12 students. Digital media resources, content creation tools are available in there. We also have access to paper tutoring. I'm going to mention a little bit more about that. It's a great resource. And we also, for that flexible path, we have tools like Nearpod and Pear Deck and quizzes where students can move at their own pace. So they can participate in centers activities or they can move at a faster pace if need be. So paper is a new resource that we have this year, and paper is fantastic because it is a free, there's my favorite price, free tutoring resource for your students that is available 24/7. So that means after late night, they're having struggles with work, they can log in and have real-time chat. It's available in my backpack. And these are for all content areas. It's available for elementary, middle, and high school students. And they even have college essay support. Now's the time that a lot of our students are preparing for college applications. And this is a fantastic resource that's available in my backpack. Additionally, we have Securely, which is the parent engagement app. So if you haven't already downloaded it, I highly suggest that you do that, because this is how you can log in and see online activities, see what your students have been participating in, what websites they're going to, what resources they're using. And also it will alert you if there's any instances of bullying, which is great. We're trying to provide, again, that whole child intervention support to make sure that our students are safe online. You can also set rules and times after school hours. Don't set it during school hours, but after school hours, you can set some rules to say, hey, I want my kids offline after 8 o'clock, and you can set those in the parental controls. So definitely take advantage of that. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to your school. The principal can provide additional support, and your ed tech specialist can provide some training and support if needed as well. I'm going to pass it to the other Jen in the Office of Instructional Technology. My friend Jen, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Jen, and good evening, everyone. I am Jennifer Saunders. I am the Director of Library Media Services, and to help our students become successful learners, they need to be proficient readers, and to become a proficient reader, our students must practice reading. To practice reading, our students should be able to visit and use the Library Media Center. And here in APS, every school has a certified library media specialist in our library media centers who help our students learn about their personal reading habits and set goals for their reading. So when we think about personalized learning from the Library Media Center, we land in the space of student reflection and goal setting, which is a part of one of the four components of personalized learning. Next slide, please. One thing our library media specialists are doing this year in alignment with personalized learning is to help each student recognize their own reading identity. They help discover who the students are as a reader. And so when we think about their reading identity, it's more than what's your favorite book or who's your favorite author. It's really digging into personal reading habits like, where do you like to read? Do you have books at home? Is there a time of day in which you prefer to read? Do you read when you aren't assigned a reading task by your teacher? Are you a part of any reading programs? Our library media specialists start with reading identity, and we ensure that there's a district-wide and school-wide program to give our students the opportunity to grow healthy, independent, and free choice reading habits. Next slide, please. So some of the programmings that we offer in the district include Race to Read, which is a district and citywide effort to build a city that reads. We encourage all of our stakeholders, which are the parents and the children and the students and the teachers and even other people who are family members of our students. We encourage you to read and log at least 20 minutes a day. We also have an annual Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl competition. We partner with the Georgia Tech women's basketball team with a program called Buzzer Readers to encourage our students to read independently and log their reading habits, and then they'll all be invited to a basketball game. So these are just a few of the programs that are available to our students to help them reflect on their reading habits, set goals, and even become more proficient readers. So you can certainly, if you want to join our Race to Read campaign, you can visit racetoread2.org and join our campaign. And it's really just a digital reading log, and it helps you become aware of your own reading habits. So you can visit that website and you can sign up as a community member. You can certainly, your students have access through my backpack. They have links to all of these programs, and definitely visit your school library media center and talk with your media specialist there to support healthy reading habits. So now I'm going to turn it over to Cassandra, who is with our Atlanta Virtual Academy.
Good evening, parents. It is certainly my pleasure to be here with you to share just a little bit about Atlanta Virtual Academy and how we incorporate personalized learning in the virtual school. students, they have flexibility and ownership of their learning. That's really important because now student choice and student voice is something that our students are asking for, something that they want. Many of our students, they accelerate their learning. They are taking high school courses in the middle school in an effort to prepare them for those IB courses and the dual enrollment courses. So this is a wonderful way for our students to personalize and decide what they want their learning experience to be. In addition to that, students personalize their experience by choosing when to ask for teacher support. One of the values that we have in online learning is that students can work at their own pace. You know, we have some kids who may not need to just be sitting in front of a teacher going over content because they may already have mastered that. So the Atlanta Virtual Academy gives some students an opportunity for them to navigate and move forward in the content at their own pace. And then, of course, our AVA teachers and students they use creative tools to engage students. A lot of the things that Ms. Hall shared when she went over the instructional technology piece, ways for them to engage, ways for them to collaborate and to design different type of student learning activities. All of this is a way for our students to really leverage our virtual academy and to provide them with options for them to determine what type of courses they want to take and when they want to take those courses. So we are very excited about the work that we are doing. We have about 1,300 students enrolled this fall, and we are always growing and expanding and adding new courses. So we are very excited about our partnership with personalized learning across our district. And now we have an opportunity for any Q&A around instructional technology.
I'll address, there was a question in the chat regarding paper being free. To clarify that is actually, it's a new partnership. We started it last year with, it's being funded, I believe, with a partnership with Fulton County Schools, or not Fulton County Schools, Fulton County Library. Let me correct myself. It's after hours. I apologize. But Jen Saunders, can you hop in and clarify that if I said that incorrectly? But it is something that we did have tutor ATL last year, and then this is something that we are leaning into this year in terms of providing tutorial support for our students after hours. Could you elaborate on that for me?
Yes, Jen, you are absolutely right. Paper comes through our partnership with the Fulton County Public Library System, which is called ClassPass, which is an acronym for, we love acronyms, Connecting Libraries and Students for Success. And so it gives all of our students and our teachers access to just about every resource, not every single one, but just about every resource at the Fulton County Public Library System, which includes paper. And paper has really taken an interest in our school district, and they come and train our students and train our teachers, and our students have access to paper at home after hours tutoring. Just like Jen said, I can attest to it. My son used it just recently, and it was very helpful for him. They respond quickly. So paper is an excellent resource to get that one-on-one personalized at home after hours tutoring support for our students.
Thanks, Jen, for clarifying that. Was there any other questions? That's the one that I saw that addressed instructional technology resources. Perfect. All right, we'll keep it moving. Thank you so much.
All right, so finally this evening, we wanted to provide you with some information about our APS vision for math teaching and learning. Next slide. So last year, looking at our district data, we determined that math was an area of growth for us. So during the spring of 2022, we invited a partner in to implement a math audit to determine the effectiveness of math instruction across our district. One of the recommendations from the audit was to establish a district-wide vision for mathematics teaching and learning. The purpose of this math vision is to establish a clear pre-K through 12 vision for excellent mathematics instruction across Atlanta Public Schools, and also to train all of our mathematics educators on the PK through 12 vision for excellent mathematics instruction so that they can use this vision as the foundation for effectively teaching mathematics in all of our APS classrooms. The goals are what we want to accomplish through this vision is to ensure that all of our students are engaged in grade appropriate assignments, to ensure that all of our teachers are providing strong instruction, to ensure that all students are deeply engaged in the content of each lesson, and to ensure that all teachers have high expectations for their students. And the top page, we go back one slide, Jen. Thank you. The top part of this slide in the orange box, you will see the APS vision for mathematics teaching and learning. It states, all APS students, regardless of race, socioeconomic status, or learning differences, will consistently experience high-quality mathematics instruction that positions them to graduate prepared for college, career, and life. At the bottom of this slide, you see a set of skills or indicators that we want all students to have as they engage in mathematics instruction in our classrooms. On the next slide, we will walk through each of these one at a time so we can make sure that you as parents understand exactly what we mean when we talk about the math vision for teaching and learning. So on the left-hand side, you see those same 7 indicators. And on the right-hand side, we have kind of captured what those mean. So starting with number 1, see mathematics as a connected discipline that helps them understand the world and critique new ideas. So what does that mean? That means we want all of our students to understand how math can be used in other subject areas and also how math can be used in the real world. Number 2, demonstrate that they are flexible and resourceful problem solvers by making meaning of mathematics. So what does that mean? That means that our students have a variety of skills and they use those skills to solve math problems, and they understand what the math problems mean and what they are asking them to do. Number 3, all Atlanta Public School students will challenge each other's thinking through reasoning and evidence-based critique. What does that mean? That means that our students talk to their peers about math and they agree or disagree based on what they know and based on factual evidence from solving their problems. Number 4, engage in productive struggle with grade level aligned tasks that invite them to use their prior knowledge to build new understanding. This one's hard for our teachers, but we want students to be able to use the skills they have learned in previous grades to help them tackle and work through difficult problems. So we understand that sometimes math is hard, but we want them to engage in difficult problems and use their previous learning, their previous knowledge to understand and to tackle those problems and really work through them. Number 5, demonstrate their mathematical understanding with peers and teachers, both orally and in writing, through grade appropriate mathematical representations. So what does that mean? We want students to be able to show that they understand math by using models, pictures, words, and that they use those kinds of skills that are appropriate for their grade level. So using sticks or circles may be appropriate in kindergarten or first grade, but it's not appropriate for an 8th grader. So use the skills that are appropriate for their grade level. Number 6, exhibit a growth mindset by taking risk, seeking feedback from teachers and peers, and reflecting on both their successes and mistakes. So what does that mean? That means we want students to attempt to solve math problems that they think are difficult. So not to stop trying, even if they think something is difficult, to ask for help from their peers and their teachers when they need it, and also to reflect on what they did well and how they can improve on their math. Finally, we want all of our students to collaborate with peers and build relationships based on mutual respect and inclusion of each other's mathematical ideas. So what do we mean by that? We want our students to work with other students to solve math problems in a way that is respectful of each other's ideas. So they can work through it, and even if they agree about how they solved it or they solved it in different ways, they can still talk through and work with a peer to be able to solve a problem and be respectful of how each other worked and solved the problem. So through this math vision, we really hope to build these skills in our students, and we know that will take a lot of hard work, and we also know that will take some support from you. So on the next slide, as parents, we have thought about how you can help us and support our math vision for teaching and learning at home. So how can you help? You can point out math in everyday life while you're driving, while you're making breakfast, making dinner at home. Point out where you see math or how you use math, and encourage your child to figure out answers to real life situations. When your child is working on math homework, ask him or her to explain how he or she got their answer. If they can explain and talk to you and walk you through how they solved the math problem, then you can make sure you know for sure they understand it and they have it. Have your child teach you math. So sometimes the way we learn math may be different from how our child is currently learning math. So have them teach you how they are learning their math in their classroom and what they are learning when they get home. Provide your child with verbal math problems. So sometimes just giving a quick problem verbally for them to solve is going to help them become more fluent as they work out problems in their classrooms and at home. And then also embrace struggle. So we talked about this from the teacher's perspective, but also from a parent perspective. Sometimes they're going to struggle with math. That is okay. You can talk them through it. You can ask them questions. Don't give them the answer, but try to ask them questions to lead them to the right solutions to help them think through how they might solve each particular problem. And then finally, avoid negative math attitudes. So math may not be your favorite subject. It may not have been your favorite subject in school, but we want to avoid negative math attitudes so we can make sure we're talking about math in a positive way and students are experiencing it in a positive way at home as well as in school. So what's next for our math instruction? Next slide, please. So we will continue to build our teacher and leader capacity about the math vision for teaching and learning. We're currently working through each of those indicators we just talked through and helping teachers to see what that looks like in the classroom in professional learning. And also our leaders, we're doing the same thing with them. We want them to have a deep understanding of what we are trying to envision for math instruction, what it looks like, and how they can go back and implement it in their classrooms. We will also implement new math standards during the 23-24 school year. So next school year, we will have new math standards all the way pre-K through 12th grade. And then finally, next year, we will adopt new math textbooks in our elementary schools and also in our high schools. That process will begin this spring. Actually, it will begin next month. Next slide, please. So when we talk about math textbook adoption, we wanted to give you some information about that as well. So we do not choose the textbook for our schools. We actually have a committee of various stakeholders who select the new math textbook. That committee is made up of teachers, administrators, instructional coaches, instructional specialists, and also parents. The committee will work through several different textbook options. And once they narrow that down to a few choices, then all parents will have a chance to view the final few selections and provide feedback about what they see. The Math Textbook Adoption Committee will begin meeting next month, and we will begin building their capacity around the new standards. We want to make sure that what we adopt is aligned to the standards that we will prepare to implement in 23-24. And we will hope to have a final textbook selection by March 31st, 2023 to be implemented in the fall of 2023. So a final reminder, our next MAP testing window is coming up. It starts next week. As a reminder for MAP growth, all of our students K through 12 will take the MAP growth assessment that will begin on November 4th and end on November 18th. And then our MAP fluency assessment will begin for all of our students in grades pre-K through second grade on December 5th, and we will wrap that up on December 9th. When we finish those assessments, you will again receive your family report. There's an example there on the screen. That family report will give you information about how your child performed on this window of the assessment, but also it will compare their scores from this assessment to how they did in the fall on the first window, during the first window of the MAP assessment. So that is it for us. Are there any questions before we prepare to close this evening?
So this ends our presentation for this evening. Thank you all for joining us on behalf of Yolanda Brown, Chief Academic Officer, and the Division of Academics. We appreciate your support and participation in this training this afternoon. So have a good evening, and I'll see you next time.